As we've learned in class, Locke presents a more moderate political theory than what we saw with Hobbes. He presents some similar ideas to Hobbes about the state of nature and the reason for giving up one's rights to switch to a civil society, but he differs from Hobbes in that he also believes the state of nature is not necessarily a state of war, but can easily turn into one. He also differs from Hobbes in the way he wishes the civil society to be governed. For one thing, he prefers a democracy to an absolute monarchy. Also, he does not vest as much power in one person as Hobbes does. Rather, he has three branches, the executive, judicial, and legislative, and he puts the most power in the legislative branch. One final major difference between Locke and Hobbes is the way Locke stresses the right to property. He includes a whole chapter in his work, The Second Treatise of Government, about how property must be fairly divided amongst men, and how every man has a property in his own person. He also talks about the preservation of property, as opposed to the self-preservation that Hobbes discusses. I think that these ideas of Locke are very relevant to today's society because many of our laws are focused around what Locke lists as property, including lives, liberties, and estates. We discussed that Locke himself was very materialistic, and in my opinion, the world has grown to place even more importance on material goods since Locke's time. However, I think that the government has also evolved since when Locke was alive, and it has come to think more about the general good than individual rights, especially where property is concerned. It is not practical, as Locke would mention specifically, to not allow the legislature to tax property just because all of the individuals in society do not agree with the idea. The county of Merced, California is dealing with this issue now. People rebelled against the government for taxing their houses when their mortgages were so high, yet because of the 34% decrease in revenue from property taxes since 2007, the county is suffering. They have had to cut back on public services such as the police force and firemen, maintenance of public areas, and other public goods. In many cases, the government nowadays serves to combat these types of situations, stepping in and acting as a third party to see what is best for the people overall. I would expect that Locke would not respond well to the invasion of personal rights as he would see it, but it is that principle that I believe makes Locke's system so unrealistic. I think Locke puts too much faith in the individuals in the society, and thus there would be detriments to the self-preservation of society's property, as he would call it. As such, America has adopted its government to include some of Locke's ideals, but with some adjustments to protect the majority of society as opposed to only individual rights.